Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Welcome to a very interesting concept, a very interesting idea, something that I just kind of realized all of a sudden. Stephen Covey was wrong. Therefore, someone else is more right. But what about, Stephen Covey? He said that he had read everything on leadership. He had read everything on management up until the point that he wrote his books, his most famous being The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I have used his habits over and over again. They basically divide into the 3 different stages of life. The first stage of life is dependence. You are dependent upon other people. I think that to some extent, this concept of dependence, we could jump into my online course, the Endeavor Cycle Introduction. We go into this first little, I call it the corporate menu, this thing called making, informing, and implementing decisions. And we break it down into roles because the thing is that some people are just naturally better at doing certain things. Like some people are just naturally better at following orders and following rules. And if you just tell me what to do, I can do it. But if you're asking me to think and solve the problem, I'm not going to be able to do that. If you're asking me to come up with some data analysis, I'm not going to be able to do that. If you're asking me to make some executive decision, or if you're asking me to manage people, no, I cannot do those things. But of course, they can't articulate those ideas. They just tell me what to do and I will be happy to do it. So they just do the service, or they produce the thing. They work in the factory. They do the service job. They are the clerk. They are processing transactions. They're lawyers. They're accountants. Ask me to be the entrepreneur? No. But ask me to do this job? Okay. The librarian? Ask me to write a book? No. Ask me to manage the database? Okay. Now, so why am I coming up with this thing? And why am I saying that Stephen Covey is wrong? The thing about Stephen Covey is that, well, let's go back to the last video. So in the last video, I just kind of introduced this. So I took the categories of purposes or motivations from the book Create Crucial Insight by Thomas Buckholtz. As you can see, here is the book. Envision purposes that motivate or can motivate individuals. And based on what I'm saying is that there's different things that are going to motivate the people who are going to follow the orders and the rules. And then there's different things that are going to motivate the thinking frameworks and the data and analysts. And there's different things that are going to motivate the managers and the entrepreneurs. So Tom Buckholtz has done a fantastic job, because what he's saying is, all right, so we got some people who are motivated to create effects. And then we got other people who are motivated to form agendas. And then we have other people who are motivated to shape potential. The problem I'm having is distinguishing the difference between creating effects and shaping potential. And I feel like this is the difference between Buckholtz and Covey. And this is why I finally am holding Thomas J. Buckholtz above, hello Fahim, above Stephen Covey. I'm saying that if Stephen Covey read every management book available and every leadership book available, and then he created the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I'm saying that that's not enough. Why? All right, well, I'll show you why. So, I wanted to just kind of go through all of this stuff, and there's all this information, but let's make it more simple. So, you might hear some typing. So, let's just type the first 3 habits. Number 1. Be proactive. Number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Number 3. First things first. Okay, begin with the end in mind. what we're saying is we want to create effects. In order to do first things first, then we need to have some kind of plan, because without a plan, you don't know what's going to come first and what's not going to come first. So it means form agendas. But we're missing something. We're missing this concept of shaping potential. Why is it important? Because of this thing here. So this effect, how do we create this effect? Well, there has to be some kind of cause. And then the question is, well, okay, so why this cause? And it's for this effect. You see? So we have to match. So the question is, how do I achieve this end in my mind? All right, so we pick something. All right, so so the question is, all right, so what is it are you clear with the vision? Do you know what you want to achieve? And if you're not, then we go to the book, Create Crucial Insight. Okay, so is it that you want to help people enhance their lives in the fabric of society? Okay, how? Specifically what? What is the effect specifically? Or are you trying to satisfy these principles, or are we trying to change these principles? Are we trying to satisfy these standards? Are we trying to change these standards? Are we trying to satisfy these agendas or goals? Or are we trying to change these agendas or goals? Are we trying to provide resources, methods, or knowledge? Are we trying to have satisfying experiences or relationships? All right. I think that for the most part, when we talk about institutions, there's always a relationship aspect. People want to have satisfying experiences or relationships. All right, so to have satisfying relationships or experiences, that is what we want. That's the effect that we want. So we begin with the end in mind. And then first things first. All right, so then we need to have a sense of direction. We need to gain goals and purpose, right? So Stephen Covey is the top half. He only covered these things. The issue is that sometimes you cannot achieve the specific effect unless you have, all right, so let's give an example. We got effects, agendas, and now I'm saying the most important thing is potential. So this is what I want. We're going to have the example of F1 race cars. What do you want? Well, obviously, I want to win. I want to be in first place. So that's begin with the end in mind. And then we go to first things first. Okay, what's first? Well, we need a plan. Right? We got to go around the track really fast. But there's something that's much, much more important than the plan. And it is the thing that is missing. It is potential. The first thing that we have to do is we have to shape potential. So what is it that is going to enable me to come in first place? All right, so we jump down to potential. We look at the elements of potential. So what kind of relationships do we need? Are we going to need to establish certain relationships? Are we going to have to have some kind of entities? Okay, we're going to have to what? We're going to have to create some new race car and then deploy that race car. And then we need a driver. We have to gain certain skills and knowledge. Right? So the question really is the relationship between potential and effects. The question is, what is the potential that I will need to develop in order to achieve this end in my mind? It's not enough to say, I want to create this effect. It's not enough to begin with the end in mind. It's not enough to form an agenda, but we need to pinpoint the specific elements of the potential which have to be developed. All right, so an even easier example. All right, so I remember when I was in elementary school, we had an exam, And one of the exam questions, it said, list 5 uses of the dictionary. And there's this one kid, he obviously had a higher IQ than everybody else because he got all 5. He filled out all 5 of the different things you can do with the dictionary. I don't know how many I wrote down, but I was thinking like, okay, you can look up words. It was too direct. This kid, he said that it can help you to reach the cookie jar on top of the refrigerator. All right, so let's begin with the end in mind. I want the cookies in the cookie jar. First things first. Okay, what? So actually, in order to achieve those cookies in the cookie jar, what is the potential I will need to develop? Well, I need some kind of method to make me taller. All right, so in the next video, I'm just going to continue on this line of thinking, and we're going to try to match up potential and effects. Let's create some examples to talk about the specific effects that we want to achieve, and then what is the potential that we need to develop in order to achieve those effects. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.